switch rooms.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big loss of time, right?
Definitely. At least 15 minutes.
2 blankets per person. All right, take out your books and open your books to the page of sequencing, which has the inversions on it. Probably on about page 42 or something like that. Open up to the page in the book that has the inversions of the sequencing.
It's like backbend series?
No, not backbend series. It just says inversions. It's in before that. It's well before that. Before. It's probably on about 42 or something like that. It's, you know, the Power Yoga sequencing page. It's a few pages after that. Keep going. Right there. Inversions.
Got it.
Page 40.
40.
40. Okay. Now, I'm saying there's 5 inversions of yoga. There's variations of each one. But I think the 5 inversions are forearm stand, handstand, headstand, plow, and shoulder stand. Okay? Plow is like shoulder stand with your legs over the back. Instead of up, your legs go over the back.
Scorpion?
Halasana. So can you think of any other poses that would be inversions? Forearm stands in there. Forearm stands.
Downward dog.
Downward dog. Okay, why would we not say downward dog? Or maybe also we might think Prasarika. You know, is this an inversion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your legs are not
Right. Well, so what defines an inversion? What defines it?
It would be over your head down and
Number 1, your head is below your heart. That's the first thing, okay? Number 2, your feet, your legs are above your hips. And number 3, your body weight is supported by the shoulder, arm area. So I'm saying there's three definitions. Third is the body weight is supported by the arms, the shoulders. The second one is that your legs are above your hips. Your feet are above your hips. Right now, are my feet above my hips?
No.
So I can go and so you have to meet all 3 criteria in my definition of what an inversion. So down here, my head is below my heart, so that's one definition, but my feet are not below my hips, and my body weight is not supported by my arms in this. So you might call that a mini inversion or kind of a pseudo inversion or something like
I don't
that.
know what.
So I'm saying there's only the 5 inversions. What?
what's the name of that?
That's Prasarika. But what category is this from? What category are categories?
Forward bend.
This is a standing forward bend, right? So it has a certain, some kind of effect of an inversion, but it doesn't fit all the categories to make it an inversion. So I'm saying there's only 5. I don't. If anybody can think of another one, I'm open to it, but I think these are the basic ones.
Plow.
What's plow?
Chin stand.
Chin stand. Like that's where you go like that. and
Yeah.
your chin.
Tripod stand.
I'd say it's a version of handstand, isn't it? I would say that's a variation of handstand. Or like forearm stand like that. Anyway, whatever. Okay, let's just keep it simple. Whatever. Tripod is a version of headstand. Tripod's a version of headstand.
What's plow? What's
Plow is halasana.
I don't know what halasana
where you lay on your back and you put your legs over the top.
Oh, okay.
Shoulder stand is with your legs up, but plow is with your legs over the top.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so let's start in the order of the easiest to the hardest today, okay? So of these inversions, which do you guys consider the easiest? Plow, shoulder stand. Do you agree? Okay, so we all agree on that. So, do you guys like plow and shoulder stand?
Yep.
Everybody likes it? Okay, fair enough. What is the biggest violation of a principle of alignment that I taught you in terms of safety that plow and shoulder stand violates?
Neutral
Not
spine.
neutral spine, because you can do the neutral spine. You could do the neutral spine. What does it violate? In terms, where is the biggest chance that you could get injured in a pose? Well, what's the principle? Where there's weight bearing. Wherever there's weight bearing, it's touching the floor and bearing weight. That's the part of the body that you have the most chance of getting injured in any moment. So remember, I always tell you, like in standing up here, if I say raise your arms up, am I going to injure my hands or wrists doing this? No. The chance of injury is going to be in the legs with the weight. But the legs can take it. The legs were designed to carry so much body weight. I could even gain 100 pounds. And my legs are there. Okay, we don't like you, but we'll still rock you around. Now, your neck, when there's weight bearing on your neck and plow and shoulder stand, and then you go upside down. Was the neck designed to hold up like 200 pounds? No. It wasn't. The neck was designed to, carry these very delicate nerves inside the cervical vertebrae to the brain. And it was designed to hold the weight of your head, which is about 10, 12 pounds.
So if you're overweight, you shouldn't do this.
Let's just say it's not shouldn't, but if you're overweight, you're much more at risk to hurt your neck. Now, in terms of injuring yourself in yoga, if you hurt your shoulder, that's one thing. If you hurt your neck, it's like the worst kind of thing. So we're not talking about, oh God, I did too much yoga and my lower back kind of hurts, or I pulled a hamstring. We're not talking about that. We're talking about neck injury, paralysis, horrible nervous system disorder, brain dysfunction. Like if you hurt your spinal cord going into your neck. So in yoga classes, we're doing all this weight bearing on our neck. Why? Why do we do that? Why do we consider it worth the risk? What do we get from doing that? Why do we go upside down in an inversion?
You're shifting your organs, blood flow.
Blood flow to the brain, right? Shifting the organs, certainly, that's definitely, and blood flow into the brain. Why is it good for blood to flow into the brain? Why? What does that do? That stimulates the production of the hormones from the glands of the brain that elevate your mood. So inversions very much help you feel better as a human being. Some people even say it's a natural antidepressant. So if you have a yoga practice, say you have a yoga practice and you guys did half primary yesterday, right? But then he put a closing series in there, right? Did you do headstand, shoulder stand? Yeah. So if you do a yoga practice and you don't do any inversions at the end, do you like that, or is that okay with you, or do you love to do the inversions at the end and you kind of need that?
I like the
Same
inversion.
with me. It doesn't feel
I like
complete.
the-
I need that. I need that. And the reason is because we want to feel that good feeling, and it just completes what we want to feel. We basically get high,
Oh,
but we
really?
do it at the expense of the neck. So careful with that. So, in that book that I told you guys about, The Science of Yoga, the guy, William Broad, he wrote about a man who was studying, I think I told you this story, studying Iyengar Yoga from Light on Yoga, that book of Mr. Iyengar. And he said, Mr. Iyengar says, you can practice on the floor, you can put a little towel or a blanket down on the hard floor and practice. Then he goes into shoulder stand. He was told in the book says, your chin should be firmly against your chest. You should learn to practice this pose for 5 to 7 minutes a day. So this guy had no teacher. He was reading this book, He was doing that shoulder stand on the floor with the chin on the chest with no padding, and he started to have like numbness in his right leg. And it kept persisting until finally it was like, it was really painful and really numb, and he finally went to the doctor. And the doctor said, well, you know, what are you doing? He said, well, this is what I do. Like 5 to 7 minutes a day, I go on the floor and I lift my legs up, and this is a yoga pose called Sarvakasana that I learned from this book with Iyengar. And the doctor says, well, you got to, you got to quit. Are you still doing it? And the guy said, yeah, I still do it. And the guy said, stop, immediately stop it. The guy didn't have a teacher, and nor did he have really the common sense to listen to his body and think, this is hurting me. He just kept doing it. So that's I personally can't believe that people lack that kind of body awareness and common sense, but I guess they do. So he ended up, in this book, the end of the story is partial paralysis, permanent partial paralysis of the right side of his body, pain all the time, and he brought it on himself. So the conclusion of this book was basically, inversions are dangerous as hell, they could lead to paralysis, and they shouldn't be done. So I heard in New York City yoga, because that's where William Broad is the yoga writer for the New York Times, he wrote this book, they outlawed headstand, shoulder stand in group yoga classes. You just can't do it anymore. It's just not taught. Like you go to Jiva Mukti up there, maybe Jiva Mukti might do it, but if you go to Equinox or they do it, anyway, there's a certain large population that doesn't do it because of it's scared them about this.
I had a yoga teacher that she would never let us do handstands or headstands or shoulder stands with a wall. She said that it was very dangerous, that you could crack your neck if you use the wall.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that when we get to those poses. Okay, right now let's stick with the shoulder stand plow. Okay, because is it hard to go into shoulder stand or plow?
Yeah.
Is it difficult? I mean, it's one of the most natural things. Children do it every day, right? It's a very accessible pose, but potentially a very dangerous pose. So that's a bad combination. Is it hard to go into handstand?
Yeah.
It is. So you're not gonna. It's harder to get into that one. Shoulder stand you can go into at any time. Everybody can lay on their back and start weight bearing on their neck at any. It's very accessible, yet also dangerous. So I don't like the conclusion that was drawn, because that conclusion took one guy's, I don't think it was very scientifically concluded. It took one guy's experience of shoulder stand and said, this might happen to you, so it's dangerous for everybody. You throw the baby out with the bathwater. So how many instances of shoulder stand would you say have occurred in the past 25 years worldwide? Say 20 million people do yoga worldwide. 20 million, okay? And say they do it 3 times a week, average. So that's 60 million times that they're going to practice. And say they do shoulder stand, most of the time. So the instances of occurring, and that person that's per year. That's 60 million class, that's 20 million people 3 times a week. So that's 60 million per week times 52 weeks. Say they practice 50 weeks. So that's 50 times 60 million. So that gets to 3 billion times. So that's in 1 year. Then you have to times that times 20 years of that. So 3 billion times 20, that's 60 billion times of potential shoulder stands. And how many neck injuries are there coming out of that? Reported or not? What's the incidence of it? What's the percentage of the amount of times, if you're going to say that you could have, that in the past 25 years there's the potential for doing 50 billion shoulder stands? It's infinitesimal. Do you know anybody who's hurt their neck in shoulder stand or plow? I mean, I'm a yoga teacher and I just know a few people.
I never get into shoulder stand anymore because it never ever feels right. And I'm really curious to know why.
We're going to figure all that out right now. distortion. So all I'm pointing out is, I don't think this guy's, I think the risk is worth the reward. I don't think it's so dangerous. Now, is there a right way with alignment and a wrong way with negative weight bearing to do any pose? Yeah. Okay? So here's the deal with that thing. So if I do the shoulder stand, you guys are going to stand up for a second, okay? Come on. Say, here's Mr. Yoga Boy. You, freshly trained yoga instructor, stand up. You guys got to walk over here. You say, okay, go into shoulder stand, plow. Time for shoulder stand, plow. So, now, look underneath my head and my neck. Is my neck on the ground? Yes. Slide your hand underneath and feel my neck vertebrae. Feel C7 vertebrae. Is it touching the ground? That, so part of my neck, see how it's on the ground?
Yes, it is.
So it's on the ground with weight bearing. So the problem is, that's what happens when you put your chin to your chest. You have to keep your neck on the ground. Did you guys see that? C7 vertebrae. Put your chin to your chest and feel the biggest, boniest one right there, okay? So if I say, is my neck on the ground, I'm just asking, is that touching the ground with weight bearing? And the answer is yes. So the deal is, you have to learn to do the shoulder stand, because it's called the shoulder stand. It's not called the neck stand. You have to learn to get all the weight into your arms and nothing on your neck. You can't do that, like Mr. Idea said, with your chin on your chest. And the reason he emphasized that was because at the time, when he wrote that book in 1964 or whatever, he thought Jalandhara Bandha was the most important thing. Since we've learned that having excellent alignment wherever there's weight bearing is the #1 priority. It's always the most important thing. So he didn't know that then, and he, like I told you, he didn't make a retraction. So people who got stuck with the book never learned. His teachers subsequently all learned this very quickly and never taught that again. And they learned to use the blanket, which I'll show you in a second. So right now, I got C7 here, and it's received. It's like if I lay like this, first of all, there's not much weight bearing on the neck. And there's no, this C7, see all this gap right here? See all that? It's not on the ground. But once I start to go, like this, see how it all is on the neck? So the key is, you have to, somebody told me, their teacher told them it's okay not to be straight up and down. You can pitch your legs the other way. But I gotta try and get my weight on my arms and elbows and off of my neck. So I'm going to wiggle my elbows a little closer together, and I'm going to take my chin way away from my chest, and that's going to put me more in a neutral position with the neck. And then this, you'll see I can get C7 completely off the ground. So that's basically now slide your hand underneath it. Is C7 touching it at all? See how it's up? Everybody see that?
Yeah.
So now, but so much more weight is on my wrists and hands and arms and shoulders, and that's where it should. And then I'm not worried about this leg thing. I'm keeping it back like this a little bit. So.
Like behind, like vertically.
No, I don't worry about that. I don't think that matters much at all.
That's for some teachers, though, when you do it for
Yeah, some
teachers,
teachers really
do
do
this,
it.
do that.
That's an excellent point. And because what's their theory? If you're getting straight up and down, is it just prettier to do it that way?
It is prettier.
It's a little prettier, but they're prioritizing the prettiness of the external. But it's not aligned because you're not in a neutral spine with your neck. It's not aligned at all. But what they're also saying is if you're straight up and down, more blood could drain down. If you're at a slant, it's a little bit less efficient of a. And what is that? What is that a violation of the yamas? What, if I say I want greediness, it's a party rod. It's saying I want more blood into my brain, and I'm willing to put my neck at risk for it. I disagree with that. I think this, held comfortably here, and a slight slant. Is the blood still draining out of my legs into my lungs and heart?
Yeah.
Come on, it's like 95% there. So why do I have to be, perfect at the expense of going out of alignment with weight bearing on my neck. So the teacher that says that, in my opinion, doesn't know. They're still believing a book, and they're not paying attention to what I want you guys to always know is the rules of why you could get hurt, which is where there's weight bearing, you have to have excellent alignment there. So you don't put other priorities of what you might have read in a book, even by a guru, or how it looks outside, above those priorities, okay? I think that's the real key to not getting hurt. But you'll see even very advanced yoga teachers saying rules that their guru taught them or that don't really make sense. You know? But anyway.
Can you speak about plow and getting into
So, plow you cannot do without having weight bearing on your neck. There's no way. There's no way I can do this. And see my chin on my chest? There's just no way I can get my chin off my chest and get those. There's no way. So often I recommend this, easy plow. With the hands back here. Now, can you see how my arms kind of bear a little bit more of my weight?
Yeah.
A little bit more. This stuff is much more aggressive on the neck.
Most of it is plow.
So what are the
You know
benefits?
Yeah, what are the benefits of plow?
Because
You know where it's to get into
The benefits of plow, that's a great question because I always, you guys notice in my classes, I say, now we're going to do plow shoulder stand.
Yeah.
I feel the benefit of plow is to get into shoulder stand. I don't really feel like there's a big, I don't think you should hang out there. I don't think you should hang there because you're going to have your neck on the ground with weight here.
I've had teachers put us in shoulder stand and then the plow.
yeah, that's the way I always.
And then,
I think shoulder stand gives you a lot of great benefits because you're upside down like that. Plow, and you can get your neck off the ground like that, okay? Plow, you can't get your neck off the ground and your legs are pretty much down. So I don't think it's as valuable as a pose.
And then what do you think the teacher would value in plow?
You feel a stretch. It's a forward bend, right? It's a tremendous forward bend. Even if you reach back and grab your feet, you get hamstring stretch.
Or when you bring your shoulder to your ears and you're supposed to like squeezing, like what's the benefit of that one?
I mean, that's an extreme forward. Is that a neutral spine position? No, that's an extreme forward bend. So if you're flexible, for some people that's going to be fine. For some people, that's going to never work, that pose. That knees hugging the ears pose. That's from a shot.
Oh, it is.
Okay, so why don't you guys go back on your mat and go into the plow and don't. Oh, the other thing is do not turn your head side to side. Right? You know that, right? Because that makes it so you're doing a weight-bearing twist on your neck. You don't want a weight-bearing twist. We're going to do shoulder stand. What? C7 off the ground. So do it the way you normally do it, okay?
Can we use our blankets?
No, we're not using the blanket yet. Then we're going to use one. Do shoulder stand, because I want you, don't worry about plow. Do shoulder stand. Okay. Now, if I came around and put my hand behind you, she's almost at, put your chin away from your chest. Yes, now it's up. See how I have
It's so much better.
Yeah, exactly. This is not touching. See how I have my hand underneath there? Is it harder or easier?
Harder.
It's way harder. Put your chin away from your chest. That's it, Romy. See how that went up there? Okay? Put your chin away from your chest, and then I want to be able to slide my finger underneath. Yeah, you got it. That's up. That's up. It's way harder on your arms and wrists, right? This goes out.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. Way away. See, you're still touching. This is touching. Careful on that. Good. Okay? If you're hurting, come out of it at any time. Put your chin away from that. Yes, now see now. Yes. See how much harder you have to work in it? It's way harder. If you feel like put your hands on your back. Now, see how the weight bearing, see how you slowly push it on.
And it's true, it doesn't matter how you go, like if you bring it back up.
a photo on my
It hurts. It hurts. It's hard.
Like you put that board.
It hurts.
You
This
know how to like this, right? Yeah, like this.
stays down.
Like sort of like this, like in the front.
It's a lot harder on your arms. The big whack is
And then you'll feel it. Yeah, there'll be like nothing on your neck, like the far
yeah, you're on your elbow.
Yeah, wow. And then there, did you see that?
I'm still pushing into my hand. I don't know way. Yeah. Then let your legs go backwards. All the way to your arm. I think your wrists and arms are too big. Okay, come out. Come out. Everybody come out. Okay. Do you see how hard it is? It's way harder on your wrists and arms, especially if you let your legs pitch forward and you put your chin away from your chest, and then you can get the space there, okay? Now, how many of you found that very difficult and it hurt and it was like harder and yeah, okay. Here's the greatest thing that Iyengar ever did. Take 2 blankets, stand up, I'll demonstrate here. Come over here. The blankets are always folded in the same way. See this? See the fold of it? You put the one fold underneath where your neck is sitting. You don't put the tassels here, right? So I have the blankets folded 1 and 2, just like that. Like that. Okay, now the way that you tell people is shoulders are on the blanket, but head is off. So shoulders are on and head is off. This. Right. Pretty good? Shoulders are on the blanket, right? Head is off the blanket here. And then shoulders down. Now look at that. Look at where C7 is. It's up on a huge pedestal of pad. This feels incredible. And you don't have to worry about that chin away from the chest or anything like that. So it's absolutely idiot-proof. Now some teachers will say, grab a blanket. In my opinion, 1 blanket. If you're going to go walk over there and grab 1, if they have them, grab 2. Okay? But you'll see people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You've got to really look at this blanket. It's not like this. You never want to see your students going, here, I'm going to use a blanket. This is even worse. This exaggerates the problem. And they'll do this. They'll put their shoulders off it and their head on it. And is this right? So go back on your mat, set your blanket up, and now you're going to be in heaven. It's so easy to solution.
The pads, you know, the pads.
What they should really invent, I'll tell you what they should invent. Whoever wants to come up with a yoga invention, you know, like a kick forward and kick forward, that thickness, a rectangle, perfect. Then you don't have to worry about folding a blanket or some sweaty, you know? That's perfect. All right, lay down on it. Head is on it, head is off of it, shoulders are on it. You're gonna, I don't think you got it working. No, you've got this one. Yeah, I know. That's the problem with this. You've got to teach people, and it's the princess of the peak. It's like having it perfect. Okay, so without looking around, don't compare those with your neighbors. How does that feel on your neck now? I mean, like heaven, right? Like you can stay there for 3 minutes a day, no problem, right? And do you feel that your neck is not on the ground? Yeah. Okay, so everybody sit up. This is not recommended, but stop laying around. Stop having fun. Okay, so is that crystal clear now? The way that we all, and in my power yoga class, there's 40 people. Do I make everybody go get a blanket and come back and do it right? I don't. Because again, in my experience of teaching, 12,000 classes, and say there's 10 people in each class, average or whatever, probably more. That's 120,000 people. I've never had anybody have any bad problems with that. So if you lack body awareness and you do it too much, and maybe if you're overweight, weak neck, or neck that has a like Suhanna's saying, her neck has like certain, curves that are natural to her neck. So that shape isn't right for her. But I think that if you come to class 3 times a week for 45 seconds, just as long as you don't look sideways, your body can get away with that, okay? Now, I'm just running that risk. You may not want to run that risk. So if you own a yoga studio or you have students and you might provide blankets, or like we were talking about over there, blankets are kind of the old school way of Iyengar. What would be best is like a kickboard, like at the pool, that level of padding, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of foam in a rectangular shape. I think that would do the trick. I don't see why the yoga studios don't just have those stacked up like this. And then the teachers just like, just everybody can get one. It's not a matter of folding the blankets correctly, which is it's a pain in the ass, but you have to do it if you're going to play the game with the blankets. So if you want to go to be a yoga entrepreneur, I think there's a need for that product, okay? The shoulder stand pad.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
Just for everyone, how many of you guys actually cannot finish your practice without a shoulder stand? Like you love it so much. Or love it.
I do too. I'm like that.
That's like 40% of us maybe?
I'm like that. I would say it's at least 40, 50, 60.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. So say there's no blankets, and you are not, know that every time you go into shoulder stand without the blanket, your neck hurts. Listen to your body. That's not growing or healing or anything like that. And then you would do the pose, which we did in restorative yoga, Viparita Karani, this legs up the wall. You would just do, it's not a full inversion, but there's no weight bearing on the neck at least. This, remember this stuff?
I love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You're getting all the benefits of the leg reversal, but there's no problem on your neck. It's just go into this. You'll get a nice effect from it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay?
How is that called?
So,
Oh my We're experimenting.
so only in the teacher training, do I teach people that. I don't stop my group class and say, everybody get this. And you're not allowed to do it without it. But some teachers do, and I respect that. Do you see why now? Do you totally get it now? Yep. I mean, shoulder stand with the blanket versus shoulder stand without the blanket, it's night and day. Chance of injury with weight bearing without it, basically a safe pose that feels comfortable and wonderful with it. So I just am real willing to kind of play it fast and loose with the people. I haven't had too many problems. I teach the masses. There's not time to get it. They don't want to break the flow. If I start to mandate that, I'm kind of pigeonholed a little bit. Like if I say, everybody has to use this now in shoulder stand, there's going to be people who come in and go, oh, why? Well, I don't need it. I don't want it. And then I'm in a, so I'm a little stuck in that. But you guys are just starting your teaching careers. You may want to just do this, okay? And definitely if you go to New York or whatever, they're going to be like, you don't know how to use the blanket and shoulder stand? Where did you train yoga? That guy didn't know anything about neck injury, so you've been taught now.
So shoulder stand is, you can't do shoulder stand in New York? Is that what?
In certain studios, yeah. That girl, do you know Luis's ex-girlfriend? Her name's Suzanne.
Louise?
Shorter, you know her? Luis from our teacher training.
Oh, Louise.
His previous girlfriend always comes. She's always here.
Okay.
You probably recognize her. And she's like, New York yoga sucks. They don't let you do anything up there, and they're just very strict.
Jivamukti's a little better.
Jivamukti's a little more frequent than that, but anyway, that's why, okay? So take it easy on your own next, and so you can learn to comfortably do it with no weight bearing. Use the blankets. And it takes a while. For me to just demonstrate what I just did to get that up, it requires a certain strength in your arms and wrists and stuff, and a technique which is chin away from the chest. Because that's what makes C7 recede back into neutral, not chin over the chest.
I got a really great assist in the shoulder stand once, and he like grabbed my legs, lifted me up so that my
That's a great
more,
assist.
and I just felt so much better when you put
That's
it
a
back
great
down.
assist. You could do that.
Can you show us that assist?
I could show you that assist. Do you guys want to do it? Yeah, you want to try it?
Yeah.
All right, partner up with your partner. You've got it reversed.
What?
If you're doing the shoulder squat, your head is going to be here and your tassels are here, so you would have to go like that.
I'm just thinking, like, why, like, if you only have one movement, if you're smaller, you just, like, roll one this way.
Yeah, but if your elbow comes off the side, you want to have a nice wide base, a nice plateau to balance on, so it's not just wobbling on one side or something like that. Okay, so you guys want to partner up and do it? Yep. All right, partner who's going to be doing the shoulder stand. Take your blanket away from the and one partner's going to go in the shoulder stand, and the other partner's going to, who's the sister, is going to stand up. Now, first thing, just watch them, watch them. Make sure their shoulders are on the blanket, but their head is off of it. Shoulders are on it, head is off of it. And then they go into shoulder stand.
Really far down on the blanket.
They go into shoulder stand. They go into shoulder stand. Give her a little now. Okay, now basically, what you're going to do is, let me demonstrate here. You kind of come in here with your feet on the sides of their elbows, okay? Then you hug their legs and lean back and walk their elbows in with your feet a little bit like that. All you do is just hug it and lean back and they'll go up. Don't lift them up, just hug it and lean back and they'll go up. Don't look around, don't look aside. See how she went up? Hug and lean back. Maybe grab a little lower if you can't get a grip. You feeling good? And if you can,
I think your feet are supposed to be here. I think your feet are supposed to be near my elbows.
here on the side.
Your feet, my feet.
And I might need to push her.
Oh, by your elbows?
And then after you feel it, if I do it
And then you just fall backwards a little bit, so kind of go up. All right, switch to the other person.
Oh, your head?
It's a little tricky to get your feet on when they have the blanket. You're probably used to, if you didn't have this blanket, and take this out. Now go to shoulder. Now, see, it's easier for me to get my feet. No, the blanket. You got me with the blanket. Don't worry about getting the feet in there with the blanket. Let's see how I can. You guys want to go? she's saying your legs should be more like, you know, like this. Like this. And I don't care about that. I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters. Okay?
Go into your.
Okay, all right, now, come back on our map. Come back on our map. All right, so let's regroup here. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, would it be weird to not do shoulder stand, but just plow?
Okay, so Romy's asking, can you just do plow and not shoulder stand? I think it's fine, but you're going to find if I was in your class and you said just do plow and not shoulder stand, I'd be like, shoot, I want to do shoulder stand and not plow, you know? So I personally think shoulder stand delivers more of the effect that we want, and I think it's less risky on the neck than plow. I think plow, you see the person with their legs over the top trying to interlace their fingers, and then they start messing around with their head side to side. I'm just like cringing. I'm like, they're asking for neck injury in that case. I'm not a huge proponent of plow. You like the wide-legged plow where your legs go wide? I think that's a little better than the straight leg. And like I said, I think putting your hands back by your feet is way better because it allows the shoulder of your arm to carry the weight more so than just the neck. So all those rules, again, you're going to have teachers who you love who say, shoulder stand, you have to interlace your fingers like this behind your back. No, I disagree with that. You can put your hands back by your feet. This is a wide-legged plow with the hands back by the feet. It's more comfortable.
Because I'm not doing the dog thing. Can I do it even if I have that little?
I don't think so.
I'm just fighting for her right leg to do shoulders.
No, I like the shoulder stand. Okay.
I like to do it like see how you put your hands back. And see how, like, there's just, yeah, this is fine. This is totally fine. That's fine. Okay, so backing up now. What is the traditional counter stretch to the plow and shoulder stand? The fish pose. So why? Why is it a counter stretch?
Opens up.
Basically, plow is going to make you slightly more chin to chest. I'm saying you should keep your chin away in a more neutral position. And then fish, you're going to put your chin all the way away. So in general, with your sequencing, you should always do this. You guys as young teachers, if I don't do that, I might call it this back bend instead, because you still have your head back with your chin away from your chest. As you guys as young teachers, I think you should always put the fish after the plow shoulder stand. Otherwise, you won't look like you know what you're doing as young teachers, okay? Even though sometimes you might see me allowing people to just do back bend, then, you hear me saying that? Because it's basically the same effect, right, if I do back bend. But I think you guys should always do the fish afterwards. Otherwise, if you teach somebody, they're going to be like, my teacher didn't even know how to do the fish after the plow shoulder stand. Like everybody knows that, okay? So.
I went to a self-practice workshop with my mom, and they said that there always has to be a counter. They told me that they.
Pose, counter pose, pose, counter pose. It feels good too, right? What are you saying?
I was just going to ask that. My lower back always hurts me to fish.
Right.
To the point where I don't know.
If somebody's lower back, first of all, fish is what category of pose? What's the category of? No, that's not a category. It's a back bend. It's a back bend. So if your back hurts in a back bend, what's happening? Why?
You gotta engage your
You've got to engage your front core. So try it. Right. You might not be able to set your. And did somebody tell you have to set your head on the floor?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have to?
I don't like to, but they always make me.
No. Why should you have to? It doesn't. I don't think you have to.
Your head with
Okay. So remove your blanket and lay on your back, and we'll do the fish. Remove your blanket and lay on your back, and we'll do the fish.
Not putting your head on the floor.
What?
It would be very difficult.
Not to?
Not
Okay. Just try it. Okay. Lay on your back. Now, for question number 1, should your hands be at your sides, palms down, or underneath your bum?
Palms down underneath your bum.
Really either. Some teachers feel that if with the hands, palms underneath the bum, it's going to restrict your shoulder movement, so they prefer hands to the outside, okay? I very much like hands underneath my bum. I just think it's a natural. Now, from there, once you're laying on your back, what's the command to go in the pose? How do I tell her?
Get up on your shoulder.
You have to come up. I say almost do a sit-up. Sit-up. Do a sit-up. Now, bend your elbows back, arch your chest up, and drop your head back. You don't have to touch your head on the floor. You don't have to. Abby, bring your chin back slightly. Just do it like that. Okay?
What if I hurt your
Abby, for you, I'll tell you
I
what.
didn't even do that.
I would say this.
I started to just do like this, and like this, and then I just lift my legs up from one side.
This kills me.
Yeah, I like that better. And then just don't arch too much. Yeah, you should be okay. Yeah.
Paul, what happens if it hurts your neck?
This is what I do.
What happens if it's hurting your neck?
Okay. Oh, you like to lift your legs up? No, that's too much. The pose would actually be here, but that puts a lot of strain on the back here, and the core. Okay, that's fine. No, you can do it. You look fine. I think that's
But I don't
reasonable.
put my hands or my
That's
elbows
reasonable.
like
It's
that.
reasonable. Just don't think, you know what? Stop. Everybody stop for a second. Stop. We get taught that there's a certain way that everybody has to do the pose. There's not. Just safely abbreviate the shape of the pose, paying attention to the principles and paying attention to your body and how it feels. And it's okay to abbreviate the pose and pay attention to how it feels. It's not smart to say, I was told this, and I do it, and every time I do it, it hurts. You don't want that. You don't want that. So, the fish pose. Hey. If you guys talk with other people, that's one thing. But when I'm talking, now, listen. In the fish pose, somebody might have taught you your head has to touch the floor, right? So people are straining way back. Are they in neutral with their neck?
No.
Then when their head touches the floor, isn't there weight bearing?
Yeah.
So it's overly compression. So in that case, like what I just did with Abby, you might want to put a blanket. Look at how, see she's got that back there. So when she drops her head back, now see how she can go neutral with her neck? This propping might be very smart for some people who say, every time I drop my head back and fish, it hurts my neck. So don't make them put their head on the floor. I mean, I'll just show you how the way I do it. I don't touch my head on the floor. I think it's
Thank you.
I do fish and think like this all the time. I've been doing it for 20 years. It's no problem whatsoever. I mean, I guess, yeah. Yeah, if your head is not on the floor, it does put a little tension to that. But I mean, I don't know, this to me just seems super easy. Is it hard for you guys? No. I'm not trying, don't push up, don't do all this stuff. Don't strive, don't strain so much in these poses, Don't try too hard with that. Fish pose, it should be pretty natural. Hands by my sides, actually. But also, you guys know all these neck poses of Ashtanga. You don't have to do this either, where they're lifting everything up. Have you seen that pose? Patrick will probably make you do it today. Supposedly, according to Gengar, you hold the pose half as long as you held the plow in the shoulder stand. So if you held the shoulder stand for a minute, you hold the fish for 30 seconds.
Oh, that's why yesterday he had us do one pose per day.
All right, now, 2:30. All right, we gotta keep going. Okay, now, is everything clear about clown shoulder stand to you now?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel that that's excellent education. I should probably teach everybody who comes to my class this and use the blanks. I probably should, but I don't. So I'm just letting it fall. I'm not saying you should be like me. Now the headstand. The exact same fundamentals. When I go into the headstand, where's all the weight going?
In your forearm.
It should be, but where does it put by the nature of the name of the pose? Where do people think that all the weight should go? Yeah. It's a friend of mine named David Kyle wrote, and he's going to teach you, because the pose is actually misnamed. What we should have named it was forearm stand with your head barely touching.
You know,
That's what the pose should be called.
you never made me realize that I have to use my forearms when we took Eileen's class, first class, and she said basically that the muscles here, which are the serratus muscles here, are the ones who have to bear all the weight in any upside down pose.
Sharon's big into that too.
So it clicked immediately.
That's great.
I said, yeah, I've been putting my weight on my head, weight on my arms, instead of focusing on my back.
Good, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad for that. So, when I go to the headstand, most everybody in every yoga class is doing it incorrectly. Most everybody is. And they're putting the incorrectness is there's too much weight bearing on their cervical neck. That's the only, when I see you doing something wrong, it's not because it's in a book it's taught a certain way or a picture looks a certain way. It's only this. It's incorrect to overly weight your neck. It's just not, it wasn't designed for that, and you're risking big time injury. That's the only reason I say it's incorrect. I don't care how it looks or whatever. So, the problem with the headstand starts with people who put their hands like this and open up their hands. And I know it feels like a natural cradle. I know that they're like, open your hands like this and you'll find a natural little place. Look how nice that fits in there. See, it does fit in there nicely. Okay? But the problem with that is, do you see how I've already collapsed the ulna outwards? See how this arm is no longer like this, straight up and down? It's like this. So my potential to push down through the ulna is compromised because I've turned it sideways like this. So to push down is weird. Instead of, if I told you to push down on the floor with your forearm, you'd go like this and push down. You wouldn't go like this.
Yeah.
That's how Danielle does her the way you just showed.
This?
Yeah.
This is the way you guys all, I would love it if you would all start from today to learn the headstand like this. So, first of all, pick up your own forearm, okay? Feel this bony protrusion right there. Feel that. That's called the ulnar point, okay? That has to be down hard into the floor in the headstand. This whole ulna is supposed to be grounded. It's not supposed to be tipped sideways with your pinkies bearing the weight this way up. Or so. If you get your wrists together like this, and I resisted this too. The guy that taught me this, the first couple of days, I was like, no, I'm not as good at headstand. And he's just like, just wait. And after 3 tries, I was better at headstand than I ever was. I got into it, so it's worth learning. So this is, go like this. Now put it together. That's how you're going to put your hands in this. Now, tip your pinkies up a little bit and push through the ulnar point like that. That's what you're going to do like that. Okay? Not like this. Don't receive the ulnar point and push the pinkies down. Opposite, all right? Okay. So, here he goes. He's got his hands finally in a good position. Other thing is shoulders underneath the. People do all this measuring. Have you seen people doing this?
Yeah.
No. Okay. All right. Whatever. It doesn't. The only reason you don't want, I find it's very natural to put my elbows under my shoulders. What you don't want is this. You know? So that's why they're measured. Because look at this. I can't measure this. So they measure here, then they go here. And that just puts your shoulders underneath this. I mean, I just find it. If you put your wrists together, you can't do it like that. It's kind of idiot-proof. Then you put your head down on the floor, like this, not your forehead, nor the crown, kind of halfway in between. There's 2 different ways of saying it. Some people say your hairline and your chin is out a little bit. I don't like that way. I think
That's what Patrick said.
that's maybe a Ashtanga way. I like just, if you take your hand, here's how you're supposed to find out the headstand. Cup your forehead. Now, spin the longest finger under the top of it. That's it. Okay? It's not the crown, because I would say my crown is here. I would say my crown. The hairline too far forward. Your chin is not out there. But there is a line of thinking. Some people teach that. I'm not in that line of thinking. I think you go like this, boom, right there. And it's just a natural in between Plus, where's my hairline? So I'm down here, I've got this. This is the thing that you guys are going to get used to, this, okay? Now, I got my head on the floor. My elbows, my arms should stay in contact with the head. So if my arms have gone out like this is incorrect, I know. So just as long as my head is in contact with my arm, I know I have a good space in here. My shoulders or elbows are underneath my shoulders. Then you just, walk up, you do a little like this. Now, the deal is, eventually you get strong enough to just push your head right off the floor like that. See how the head just went on the floor?
Yes.
So I do 50 breaths now with the head not touching.
50?
55. See, can you see that my head is not touching the floor? Everybody has to see that.
Yeah.
Willa, you can see that? My head is not on the ground. It's touching the sides of my arms, but it's not touching the floor, right? Here's the head on the ground, right here. Here's the pushing the head off the floor.
Is that the advanced way or the?
No, this is the correct way.
Pushing is what?
You're not supposed to have any weight on your head. Then, okay, so now do you see how now I'm taking care of the fundamental? There's no weight bearing on my neck. So I can do the shoulder stand and the head stand for the rest of my life with no negative weight bearing on neck. I've taken care of the fundamental. So to me, it's a perfectly safe thing to do. Just so I'm going to listen to my body. Now, what's the potential? How much weight is on my head if I do this?
A lot. That's how you do it.
Can I get my head off the floor?
No. Unless you go to handstand.
Tripod headstand is incorrect. It's not a correct thing. That's tripod headstand. It's not good for you guys at all. You shouldn't try and cultivate it. You shouldn't try to do it. You know what? It makes it easier if you've done all of the weight in your head and you compress this, but you can get up in the pose, and you see people doing it out of Prasaripattanasana, right? You see this all the time. So it violates the fundamental. That's why it's not correct. You can't get the weight off your neck.
Why did I teach it?
Like I'm telling you, you guys are lucky that you're in my teacher training. Lucky.
Maybe I think both things.
They don't know. They don't know a fundamental. I'm saying there's a fundamental which says wherever there's weight bearing is the biggest chance for injury. That's where you have that excellent alignment. When there's weight bearing on your neck, you have to get the weight off your neck. You have to by using your arm. You can't in tripod. So to me, that's just an incorrect pose. Now, I used to make people not do it. Certain girls, and they quit coming to my class, I'll call this mommy tripod. So I just let the chips fall as they may now again. But you guys did this teacher training and your eyes are open. I can do the tripod headstand. Did you just see me doing it?
Yeah.
There's no problem. I can do it. But what you're saying is you want the benefit of an inversion, right? All the blood draining in your brain, your organs going upside down and stuff. And you're willing to do that at the expense of risking damaging your neck. That's a party. That's stealing. That's a violation. That's basically a stay. You're stealing from your neck in order to get another benefit. So that's how the yamas work. Okay, now.
Is
So
it
go,
okay if I stretch out my pinky like that?
you can, but if you go over, you might hurt your pinky.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, now if you fall out of the headstand, you're falling that way. What do you do?
Roll.
Tuck and roll. Bend your knees and tuck and roll and go into a forward somersault. And in my opinion, that's not that dangerous. What is dangerous is the dum-dum who goes into tripod headstand. Then they slowly start to tip over and they don't bend their knees and they just land flat on their back with their legs straight. They just body slam their
Oof.
That's super dangerous. So from this position, if you go over, you'll just naturally bend your knees and tuck your chin and you'll do a forward somersault. Release your hands. Okay? So go to the wall. Okay? Get your ego out of the equation. I don't care if you need the wall or don't need the wall. Turn around and go to the wall. And do my hand position, the interlacing of the fingers.
This is like
Pinkies. One is going to be underneath the other. Okay? Now, you know that wall is there. Now, put your head in between. Now, make sure your arms are touching your head. Simple as that. If your arms are touching your head, your elbows are not too wide. Now, walk into it. Walk into it. You can either tuck the knees into the chest to go up one leg at a time, or go up both legs at a time. Generally, you're not supposed to kick, but if you need to, you know you have the wall there, so go up into the headstand, even using the wall. Just using the wall. I know this
Can't do it. I'm too scared.
It's always harder than normal.
Will. Okay. Now, go up. Go.
Takes more balance.
Now, when you're up there, use the wall and push your head off the floor. Push. That's it for you. That's where you have to get.
Ooh. I really need to mentally prepare myself.
Okay? Push your head off the floor, Claudia. No, use the wall. Use the wall. Now push it. Yes, yes, Claudia. Can you do it without the wall? I can do it.
Did you push your head off the floor?
I
Yes,
can
exactly.
balance.
That's it.
You can do
Without
it.
That's the way to work.
It feels like
So,
times
it's way harder,
It
right? I mean, I hate to
feels
ruin all these
so
poses for you guys, but doing them correctly is actually way harder. I find it so much easier. Push like crazy. That's fine. You could do something like that.
I can topple down. What's too hard?
I like that.
When I put the weight on my hands,
You never
I can't get my butt off the wall.
Very hard. Very hard. It's hard. So use the wall. Hands one over. I find it so much easier. The whole thing, I find it so much easier.
I'm good on that.
And this is grounding down. You feel strong, right? It's good.
Back, and this one will go up.
Now push, Shelly, push. Did you get your head up? The headstand? Of course.
Because like your butt is like,
You did it?
it's the way your butt goes back.
Use the wall. Alright, so everybody kind of come down. Scary. That's why I use the wall. Okay? Come down. Come down. Woo. So again, here, this is, I let people do the tripod in my class, but it's not right. It's not right. There's no way that you can get the weight off your head in the tripod. I know it's easier. It looks cool at a straddle. Other girls are doing it, so I could do it. Get all that, take all that out of the equation. For the time that you're finishing the teacher training, go to the wall. Don't even try to do that. And the yoga teacher that said, don't use the wall, I disagree with that, because there's a certain yoga teacher who says, no, you got to learn to overcome your fear. No wall, no wall. And the people.
But the wall helps you overcome your
It does, exactly. And basically it builds the strength so that you can do it correctly, safely. So who cares if you use the wall? The thing is, people think it looks cool to not use the wall and like, oh, headstand on, the coolest guy, I just go up in the middle of the room. It's all show off, You know what I'm talking about? And then you go to class and you think, I want to be able to do like what they did. But you're risking your own death. So go to the wall, get the technique that you now know, get the strength, and it does have to do with the serratus. The reason I don't emphasize that, and I'm just talking about pushing, is because for us guys, we just brute force it, and we can just, whether I engage the serratus or not, doesn't really matter. I just push down, and boom, my head goes right up. I'm sure my serratus is engaged in doing that. But there was no, but I think for some women, you can't just overpower with your arms with strength, but
Definitely.
guys can. It's a little safer for us.
And you know what I was thinking? If I do the headstand with my arms like this,
Yeah.
does that work?
No, but don't touch your head. That's the forearm stand.
Yeah.
Don't touch your head. No. So all of these crazy things, you're gonna see the craziest thing. If you say, okay, now it's time for headstand, and you don't teach this, People are gonna do that. They'll just do, they'll just do the dumbest thing. And the deal is what you've said is just by nature of calling out the pose, the headstand. And they might have even seen a picture of somebody doing the headstand with no hands. And if you see those variations where you put your arms to the sides and stuff like that, never aspire to that. There's no, it doesn't have anything to do with enlightenment or even health. It's just, you're just showing off with your neck and wrist. It's actually leading a bad example. Because people can do it, and they put all the weight in their neck, and they say, take a picture quickly. And, it's just show off. It's what you want, what all of you want is, and what I want for you is, for you guys to, number one, understand the principles and be able to communicate those as a yoga teacher. And number two, as a practitioner, to get to be 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, and still able to enjoy the shoulder stand and headstand, and not be like, should I quit doing that when I was 38 because my back is so fucked up? You don't want that. I have a 70-year-old student, and she can do the headstand without touching her head on the floor. She pushes. 70 years old.
The older woman, the receptionist at the Green Monkey in South Miami, she was in one of like a deep relaxation class that I took last weekend, and she was like up straight on her doing the headstand, and I was like, holy crap. Looks like she's in her 60s.
Yeah, it's cool. So that's what I want for you. I want longevity of doing the pose right. So just start to build it up right now. I guarantee you in like 3 to 6 months, you'll have this, you'll be pushing your head off the floor, you will not move the wall. It's the way to do it. Now, if you have a class and you think people are at risk, do you have to teach the headstand in every class? No. You do not. I teach gyms where there's a big mirror. People do it here. People kick up onto this wall. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I only allow it with people that I know just barely need the wall. They're hardly touching. One time I was teaching at a gym, and this big muscle guy, and there's a mirror, and he's like slamming his heel. And I was like, everybody get away from the wall immediately. Let's go into seated forward bend. It's great this mirror trying to do the headstand. So you don't want the big bad problem like that. So don't people, should people be allowed to jump up into the headstand?
Yeah.
No. Well, what if you can't? No. Like when you're learning.
This is, what you'll see is this. They'll put their hands in the wrong position. Don't look at it. You see that. That's me. You see that person needs to do the dolphin like this. Again, not touch it. They need to do this. Okay? They need to just do this all day long. This right, I feel like right here, the serratus right there.
Or like dolphin.
Dolphin. No, you're not going to injure your neck in dolphin. It builds the correct muscles. It's a mini inversion. Or they can go to the wall and try to do the forearm stand. Remember, the forearm is, which is more dangerous, the headstand or the forearm stand? In terms of your neck, it is, but the worst injury I ever had was a girl in my class who was in forearm stand and she broke her arm. She was trying to jump up like this, and just when she jumped up, this went flying out, and boom, it just
But did she
snapped
have her
right
hands
there.
together?
Huh?
Did she have her hands?
She was doing forearm stand like this, which I actually prefer. Some people teach, we're not going to have time for forearm stand, handstand today. Some people teach forearm stand like this. Do you guys like forearm stand like this?
It's easier.
Or do you like this?
Yeah.
I find this 10 times better for me. I just feel like there's more surface area, my hands are strong. If I go over, I can catch myself. But Venetia, my wife, only likes this.
I tried this, like not like this, but this, and for me it's easier.
It's easier. You don't want to get too much hands and elbows out, though, right? You don't want too much of this. You got to get it. That's how people do the block, but that's all part of the forearm stand.
I get like a rug burn every time I do it, and only on this elbow. And it doesn't move like noticeably, but I must be moving it just ever so slightly to be getting there.
No big deal. You get little injuries like that.
Well, I have a question for the headstand. Where does your head go? Because I wasn't when I tried like put my hands together, I couldn't go up.
Okay.
Where does the head go? I think I was maybe too low.
No, put your wrists together, go down, go forward, put your wrists together. Now, put your head down on the ground. Now, just work your elbows in a little, make sure your arms are touching. That's it, that's fine. Are your arms touching the sides of your head?
Yes.
That's it, then you're fine. Are her elbows underneath her shoulders?
Yeah.
I'd say more or less they are, it's fine. All right, so that should be, the teacher training, that should be a big wow workshop right there. Not even that many yoga teachers know that, of how to get the neck off the ground in these inversions. And that's the science of it, so you won't hurt yourself. Okay, so put your mat back in the position somewhat like yesterday, like this. Guess
We
what's coming
didn't
now?
do forearms.
Heartless, cold yoga. I don't have that. Yes. Put your mats in position before you take a break. You walk up your mat without your mat in position. I don't like that. Put your mat in position, then take the break, okay? Like yesterday. Like yesterday. Two rows, only two.
Oh, I'm gonna go here. Wait, I don't know where people are going.